Red Dead Redemption 2 is awesome. One thing I love about the game, and I'm sure I'm not alone with this, was the character building and development of several cool characters. But none were as inspiring or moving as that of the focal character of the game, Arthur Morgan. I already knew I liked him, but I couldn't help but wonder why I liked him. Like, yeah, he's freaking gorgeous, but that can't just be it. After some time passed and I watched some self-improvement videos after already knowing about RDR2 and Arthur, I finally realized why I liked him so much as a character. Because he was a good man. Why was Arthur Morgan such a good man? Because even when everything was changing around him, even when his world was falling apart and being a good man was the harder thing to do, he was still a good man. Really quickly, I wanted to rapid fire some examples of what I'm talking about when I say that he is a good man, just to get a feel for who we're talking about for anyone who might not know who Arthur Morgan is. He was not always reactive straight away when faced with a dilemma, but calculated and thoughtful. This exemplifies stoicism. When he believed something was true, he would make sure that it got done, no matter how much resistance there was in his way, like enemies or group conflict. Arthur provides money for the camp and provides a feeling of safety to those around him. He tries to make everybody happy, not in a way that is detrimental to himself, but in a way where he thinks about the outcome of any given situation very carefully in order to look out for his friends, when possible and reasonable, of course, even when all seems lost. Instead of giving up all the rest of what may be left, he still tries his best to salvage what's left, and impart a better future which may not have been without him. For example, getting John and his family to safety, away from the gang. Now, these things did happen, and this is true and all, but Arthur Morgan is not just stoic or courageous or thoughtful. He is more than that. In fact, all of these traits fit under the same umbrella, the umbrella of masculinity. We may think that any one of these things on their own is masculinity, when in fact all of them can be rooted back to a concept of stillness versus change. Because to be masculine, sure, stoicism is involved, but stoicism is just the label of not having an emotional reaction or lashing out or anything like that, but remaining calm and finding a fitting solution to any conflict or issue, which on a preceding level is basically choosing stillness over change. In fact, all of the traits and scenarios I just listed off are still commendable traits on their own, but could also be traced back to an underlying sense of masculinity or stillness rather than change and emotion. In the midst of winter, I found there was, within me, an invincible summer, and that makes me happy, for it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there is something stronger, something better, pushing right back. Albert Camus. Arthur is the stillness in a world where everything is changing around him, and dramatically as well. He must deal with the decline of the Wild West as the world shifts into more government control and order. Arthur still feels his emotions, but he is not his emotions. He is stillness, and he becomes the person he wants to become by doing the things that a good man would do. What he thinks is right and true. The world will constantly test your stillness, whether it's the weather, someone literally screaming in your face, or negative internal thoughts. Like, have you ever had your mood change because it was cloudy or rainy that day? Or one day you woke up feeling good and you decided that today was gonna be a good day, and then someone said something to you which changed your mood and made a bad day out of what was supposed to be a good day. This is what stillness versus change looks like in the real world. How many more good days could you have had by now if you didn't let these stupid external things like the weather influence your mood? Or someone said something ignorant and unnecessary to you, so now you can't get work done because you're angry. Don't let these small things get in your way. Become unperturbed. It's kind of like in Dark Souls. In Dark Souls, everything is dark and cloudy and colorless for the most part. The world is against you, but you still do what you need to do, as it is your duty, and your duty must be done whether the sun shines down on you or not. Whether there are allies by your side or not. In the continuity of the game, excluding the time that you are offline, your character just keeps on marching on, no matter what the bitter NPCs are telling him, no matter what the weather in the sky looks like, or if it's cold outside, or if you die countless times, or if there are hundreds of enemies before him. and that's excluding the terrifying bosses that are to come. He still marches on. He is stillness in a world full of change, in a world full of uncertainty and doubt. So how can you be more masculine? Try to stay aware of this never-ending test of life, because it is never-ending. Stay vigilant and remember the fact that the world and people and feelings are always trying to test you. And it is up to you to recognize that you are not your thoughts, and that you can be the good that you want to see in the world. There is always going to be something new which will test your patience and your stillness. Not just for the sake of testing you, but because that's just the way life is. Maintain your stillness in a world that is always changing. Also, something that I've realized about this concept of stillness versus change is looking at things in the long term. You might be like me, you might still be pretty young in comparison to what our age potential is, but in the long term, do you see yourself still getting pissed off at what other people say, or feeling sad when the weather is bad, and doing this while you have a wife, or husband, maybe even children, or at least just more responsibility than you have now? Think about the person that you will soon grow into. Imagine how you would want them to behave, and how they would react differently to the same things which are troubling you now, and then use their future wisdom to your advantage now. Anyway, that's everything. Talk to you later.